Peace and respect to you all. Welcome to Demolished Doctrine, our regular Wednesday show, and we are blessed to have both guests, BigZebra.com and MacTheHuman. Please check out the actual BigZebra.com, which is a real website, and laugh a little bit, have a little high point in your day. All right, guys, the floor is yours. Say things.
Okay, well, I'm ready. But you first, Mac.
Oh, sure.
If you want me to, I will.
Well, speaking of the moon, how about we talk about the moon for a second?
Sure.
Isn't there stuff about the moon too in Revelation?
Is there?
Yes.
Yeah. So what
That it
happens?
becomes
Right.
dark
All
as
right,
sackcloth.
Richard.
That it becomes dark as sackcloth.
Dark as sackcloth.
So something would be
Right.
blocking out the moon. Well, there's uh, the the Earth can eclipse the moon, as I recall, right?
The moon
So the
might-
moon would appear to be dark.
It's not referring to an eclipse
Oh,
or the complete disappearance of the moon, which is what a total eclipse or the waning phase of the moon, the new before the new moon, it looks like no moon, you know.
Right.
So I don't think it's speaking to either one of those things because it wouldn't appear the same.
mm.
So it looked like the moon does now, except for black, like blackened. Or
Yes,
burnt.
that's what it's claiming.
Right. Like
Now,
black
I,
and
I can
blue.
see a few reasons for that, and where it comes in the story is talking about there being a lot of, I think, what's going to be volcanic ash in the sky. So if
Oh,
you can imagine, like clouds at night, only not like translucent clouds, but only very, very semi-transparent, translucent clouds made of ash instead of water vapor, you could get a very different effect of the moon on the other side of that.
mm.
I can't.
So does the moon? Does having the moon dressed in ashes um, have some sort of significance, or is it just a sign of the times?
I don't think it has different significance than the rest of the story. I mean, the
Oh,
whole
okay, so
idea.
go ahead.
Go ahead. No, if you want to
No,
say
I was
something, say it,
wondering.
sir.
No, I was wondering if, for example, if it was um, what is the word? Like an allegory, not an allegory, but that the moon had this significance or that, and so when it's darkened, that means something else. If you see what I mean, or does it just
I think
mean the moon was dark?
I think there's really only one topic, and the topic is suspicions of believers is confirmed, and doubts of non-believers are beginning to be erased or get
Hmm.
erased through the whole process. And it says it in no uncertain terms. It calls them signs, right? And then it says an evil nation needs a sign. And by evil, it means those non believing. So it's saying non believers need proof. No shit.
Hmm.
Uh, and is there something wrong with that? No, there's nothing wrong with that. Um, if you look at the text, blessed is he who has not
Hmm.
seen and yet believes. Okay,
Yeah, which always
is the
struck
same.
me as weird.
Right.
It is weird
Yeah.
according to the way the Christians explain it. I don't think it's so weird in the way that I fathom it, or at least maybe not as weird. That if you like, okay, let's say you were on the fringe of science, right?
Mm.
You're at the very leading edge of it, pushing the envelope in your work,
Okay.
and you came to see certain things because of your work, and you believed them, but other people did not believe them. It doesn't mean you're wrong. It just means you're early, that other people don't believe it. Okay, so that scientist, I could say, is blessed above the rest of the scientists in that field and the general population. It's not that the rest of them aren't blessed, because they also have science and they're also going to catch up to this new idea eventually. But the early is blessed above. So I think that's what it's saying when it says, "He who has not seen and yet believes." It's because if that were the ultimate, there would be no proofs for an evil nation. If that was okay, you're blessed and nobody else is, well, then nobody else is going to catch up with you, and that's not what it's proclaiming.
Oh,
So
Lordy.
one of the evidences would be presumably saying, "Hey, look at the moon. Now read this prediction about the moon." You know, there's a one-to-one correspondence, right? And that would
Right.
be part of the conversation about, "Hey, this is true. This is what's happening."
I mean, these are things that we from the earth and with unaided senses would be able to experience firsthand, and that's why they are signs. And now wouldn't be a bad time to do the rundown of the order of the signs and what we would actually see.
All right.
So let me do that real quick. All right. So they come in this order: the quaking of the earth, the blood sea miracle, the quaking of the earth, blood sea miracle, face of God, wormwood, smiting of the thirds, arrival of God. I'm sorry, glory of God, arrival of God. So that's all 7 of them. Yep. And what would that look like in first person experience? A really big earthquake quaking the entirety of the earth, like there's no living human who wouldn't experience it.
Okay.
You'd have to be like a specialty, like in a coma or something. Spitting hail and fire mingled with blood. This sounds like some people will. It doesn't sound like. It says some people will die, and it sounds like some kind of massive volcano. So I'm saying it's a super volcano. I think probably Yellowstone because it's a likely candidate. Not that I know that.
Hey, Richard, there's
Just-
this thing about how a wicked and adulterous nation requires a sign. If I have
That's
the phrase
one way to
right.
say it.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
so the Bible says that the wicked require a sign, and then
Yeah.
it gives a list of all the signs.
That the wicked will see.
Yeah, that seems kind of. Oh, and by the
Forgiving?
way, if you're wicked, watch out for these signs.
Yes.
Well, that just seems kind of like, why is, if the faithful are reading the Bible, why tell them signs? They don't need it.
They don't need the signs. It's not for them. It's for them to stand around and go, "Hey, did you notice that this looks just like this thing we're experiencing?
Right.
Did you
Okay.
notice?"
Well, what is wormwood, by the way? I've heard it used before.
Yeah, I'll do those
But-
real quick as I can.
Yeah, thanks.
Okay, and then the blood sea miracle, where there's a chemical reaction with a foreign body falling from the sky. So
that's
some
right.
kind of meteorite,
Mm.
but a big meteorite that falls in an ocean. And it says that there's a really nasty chemical reaction where anything in that part of the ocean will die. Go ahead, Zebra.
Oh, I was going to be really annoying because it's what I do. And if it's in space, it's an asteroid. If
Oh,
it's going through the atmosphere, it's a meteor. And if it's hit the surface of the Earth, and you can go and examine it, that would be a meteorite.
Right. Of course, falling to the bottom
Isn't
of the
that
ocean, we're
annoying?
not going to be able to examine it much. No, that was perfect. You just confirmed that I used the right word, which is excellent. I'm glad to see that.
Yeah, well, there you go.
Okay, so and then you have the face of God, which the face of God is a bright and shining light in the sky that no man has seen. And that's equivalent to the ignition of Jupiter as a short-term star. And then you have wormwood, which wormwood is a chunk of one of the moons over Jupiter falling to the Earth, which they get sprayed in all direction because of the implosion and explosion. But peace and respect, Jody McCann. But a chunk of it, or a mountain-sized chunk of this moon, falls to the Earth, burning with fire, making a bright light, which 90% yellow sulfur, it would really do that, no kidding. and that falls into some kind of enclosed water system. And because sulfur burning in water makes sulfuric acid out of the water, don't drink it. That's written in the text. Don't drink it. That's bad for you. And it makes foamy, brittle, like volcanic pumice looking ash that would float. It's very buoyant. That would float, and that's the wormwood part where it's brown, riddled with holes and pockets like wormwood looks like. So it's bitter, that is the acid. Wormwood, brown, full of holes, which is the only reason it's called wormwood. It has nothing to do with the plant whatsoever, that series of plants.
Just so folks know, there was a recent count, an add-on to the number of moons of Jupiter, and Jupiter now has 92 confirmed moons.
Wow.
I double checked. So it has more than Saturn now. Now, some of these moons are highly suspect. They look like you took, somebody's boil and attached it to an eggplant. It does.
What?
You would have.
They're funny shaped?
Yeah, some
Actually,
of them are very lumpy. And so
most stellar bodies are funny shaped. In fact, they're pretty much deformed peanut shapes.
Huh.
Yeah. It's weird, and you could always say, well, when is it a moon, and when is it just a clump of crap in orbit?
Yeah.
How big is it? I think.
Oh.
Yeah. The ladies want to know, and the I think the proper expression is that's what she said.
Right.
But some of them, you could say, well, it's an asteroid in orbit rather than a moon, but it begs the question, what is a moon? But that's not what we're here to discuss, but I just found it interesting.
I think a moon is of a certain size and there's a certain stability to its orbit. I think that's what makes something a moon. I'm not perfect on that, but that's the general idea as far as I understand. Okay, so let's see. Wormwood, smiting of the thirds. In a binary solar system at a 60-degree angle to two light sources, you would not experience dawn the same way, for obvious reasons. You would not experience the shadow on the moon the same way. That would be different. And you would not experience the night sky or stars the same way. In fact, you would lose 1/3 of each. You would have a 1/3 change because of the angle, if that made sense to you. You can map it out if you want. It's true. And then you have, face of God, smiting of the thirds, glory of God. That's the Earth continuing on its orbit, gets to 180 degrees, to two light sources, no more darkness, no more night, and the Earth was filled with God's holy light. Our first experience of some amount of daylight around the entirety of the planet simultaneously. Okay? And this is when the arrival of God happens, or heaven descends out of the sky, or alien invasion. However you want to say that. So that's all the signs.
If this happens, is there like an ultimate eschatology for this planet? Does it eventually just get wiped out, or are we all taken it to heaven, or?
The overall plan is, as far as I can tell, the overall plan is as many of us who can mentally accept the new paradigm, accept space travel, and become space travelers with our very, very, very ancient society of human beings. Anyone who can't accept that stays on the planet because they literally can't accept it. And there's no one whose will is infringed upon. No one's forced to go to Heavencraft. No one's forced into that. So then, as the planet is destroyed, and all of the major resources of carbon, 7 different metals, the oceans, and the atmosphere are removed from this planet, of course, a human body won't be able to live. They will die. Now, that's not the same as saying that they are damned in any way. It's only saying that their flesh will be destroyed. Of course, if you're restoring bodies of, I don't know, Einstein and Marilyn Monroe into heaven, there's nothing wrong with you restoring the bodies of the people who just died on the planet. Of course, again, for them to have some choice about this, they would have to come to full understanding of the total situation and be, this sounds really weird against Christianity, they would literally be an angel with the right to kill themselves. Because what if they don't want to be there? But they have to be allowed choice.
Couldn't they just
So
drop
they'd have
them
to be
off
restored into heaven, and then they'd have to judge heaven and decide if they're staying or not.
I was thinking that if they have a spaceship, they could drop you off on a new planet.
There
But
is
that's
some of
not
that goes
evident in
on,
the
but
Bible.
no, it is evident in the Bible.
Oh, okay.
All you have to do is read the part after Noah's Ark, and all the waters are collected up off of this earth. Waters meaning people. And then Noah's Ark gets emptied onto an earth, which I say is a different earth. It's not the same earth. So that includes people being put on the planet. And I think that there's a good possibility that, peace and respect, Ox, there's a good possibility that these are the genetic bottlenecks that we see in the human genome. And those are actually our arrival to the planet. So that looks like what? Each ethnic group, something about 10,000 people. Prepared in heaven, genetically restricted in heaven, just like 2:8 of Genesis says. And then God put man into the garden whom he had already formed. So formed where? Formed not in the garden. If the garden's the planet, then they were off planet, literally.
If you're okay moving on, I had a question for you. And,
a little bit closer to the microphone.
Pardon me?
A little bit closer to the microphone, please.
Oh, how about now?
Perfect.
Is that better? Okay.
Yes.
I guess my question is that there's an interesting part of the Bible where Lazarus is awakened from the dead. And given that we have the idea of people resurrecting on Judgment Day, or as you have them being reconstituted on the ship, how do you read the Lazarus passage? If you need a few moments. Pardon me?
How do you spell Lazarus?
L-A-Z.
I'm bad at spelling.
U-R-U-S.
U-R.
I'm terrible at spelling too. So
let's see if you. No, you didn't get it right either.
See,
anyone?
I'm great. Lazarus.
It's definitely L-A-Z.
L-A-Z-A-R-U-S.
A-R, yeah.
Let's try that variation. I already tried E. Bingo! We got it. Okay. All right, so the word Lazarus. Hebrew origin. Elazar. Which contains the word God. And then God and Azar, which means to surround, to protect, or aid. Wow. Okay.
That's a curious.
So it's God surrounds, protects, and aids. So Lazarus is a direct reference to the earth being surrounded by God. Or at least a group of people being surrounded by God. That's what Lazarus means. Now, if I apply that to the story of Lazarus, what do I get?
Donuts. You see, you applied to the story, and then you went out.
Too far from microphone, sir. Way too far from mic.
Oh, let's try that again. Sorry, I had this enormous yawn overcome me. No, not. Please pardon me. It was just the
It's
thing
okay.
that I have to do. Anyway, keep going.
The rich man and Lazarus. There was a certain rich man that would represent heaven, God, angels, which was clothed in purple and fine linen and fared sumptuously every day. Of course, because that's the situation of heaven. And there was a certain beggar named Lazarus. So a certain beggar named surrounded by God, which was laid in his gate, full of sores, and desiring to be fed with the crumbs which fell from the rich man's table. No shit. Moreover, the dogs came and licked his sores. Ugh. And it came to pass that the beggar died, and was carried by the angels, that makes sense, into Abraham's bosom, that makes sense. And the rich man also died and was buried. We're good?
Yes.
Okay. So it's just the same story. I mean, I read the Bible and I see, oh, end times. Oh, end times. Oh, end times. Oh, okay, end times. Well, this is about end times. And that's all that I see ever. Get a job, Lazarus. Purple blues.
But isn't
expect the
the
world
thing
to take
is
care
that
of you?
Lazarus gets resurrected and the rich man does, but Lazarus fares better than the wealthy man?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, the rich man does not get resurrected, but it doesn't work out that way. But then, Moses doesn't go to the promised land. That's also
No,
true.
he doesn't.
Right, it's because he's already there. And then you can get into the whole, hell and heaven and experience and why one's better than the other, and Lazarus does all that. Kim B wrote, "There is a blood moon over the Sea of Galilee last night that's reflection made the sea appear red."
Oh, wow.
Yeah, we're always looking for the blood moons, and it's a big thing to the Hebrews, to the Jews. But I think the actual blood moon that they're looking for is blood colored, not orange. And the best we get in a blood moon is an orange moon. Actually, it's not blood colored. However, if the 24 elders were arriving to the earth, you would see 24 blood moons. Because they'd be like a moon in the sky. And I think that's what's actually talking about is the arrival of heaven, which is why it would be a sign, which is why blood moons are a sign.
We were talking about antipodes earlier, whatever is on the other side of some point on the globe. And I found a map for that. So you can type in the name of your hometown and find out what's on the exact other side of the earth.
Antipodes.
Yes. Yes. It's that's what the word means, antipodes.
I should write like ancient sounding stories about a philosopher named Antipodes.
Yeah.
Where he just says everything opposite. Because we dumb Americans wouldn't know the difference.
So true.
You say that, but I used to work with Americans and found them pretty worldly and smart. So,
really, where did you work? I need to move there.
Central Americans, he means.
It was publishing. Central
Not
America.
United States citizens. You can't mean citizens of the United States. You can't mean that.
Yeah, but publishing is sort of New York centered, and but there are other clusters around the nation. Little Brown is in Boston, I think. can't remember where HarperCollins is, and Random House is fucking
Chicago.
everywhere. Random House owns everybody, and they are out of Germany. Or the Bertelsmann Group owns Random House, and Random
Well, they
House.
called themselves Random House, and then they bought up every Random House. So
Yes, yes. Well, Random House, for example, owns Penguin. They wanted to own Simon and Schuster, but the government said no.
okay,
And
yes, George, and this is wrong. It's 29. There's only 24 of the littlest ones. The other ones are bigger. I don't know if a class 4 Kardashev civilization would be ignorant of like maybe things that we think may be true, like anti-gravity.
yes, yes. You could imagine Clark Tech that solves the problem.
What kind of
Uh,
tech?
Clark Tech. Arthur C. Clarke once said, if any sufficiently advanced technology will appear
Right.
to be just magic.
Right.
And
Right.
so
I think that's
something
what
like
created religions.
anti-gravity would be called Clark Tech.
Got it.
If you had anti-gravity, you wouldn't need to achieve escape velocity. You could probably just rise off the planet.
Just float
Uh,
off of it. It would push you away.
Right. Take your
yes,
time.
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, instead of going, I think escape velocity is something like 17,000 miles an hour, which,
It's something insane, yeah.
yes, it is, as they say, a lot. There's also talk, there's a scientist I like who, he's got a master's in physics, I should say. It might be a little much to call him a scientist, but he's a physicist, and he does a channel which is called Isaac Arthur, which is excuse me, which is all one word. And what he does is, suppose you tried to decide what it would take to make a space elevator. Well, we could sit here and just think it out ourselves, but he's done the work already, and he
Cool.
knows more details than I know, and he's done the math, and it's really, really interesting. And, what it would mean if we did have a space elevator, and that sort of thing. Anyway, that's where I get the name Clark Tech. It's just known among scientists as a hypothetical technology that's so advanced we don't know even how the hell it would work.
Right. Right.
Hey, I brought your stream to a halt there, Richard. I'm sorry.
I don't know. I was just thinking
Not at all.
about I was thinking about gravity and the whole transformation of Jupiter and the solar system becoming a binary star system. I think the gravitational kind of it's everything. All of the systems are going to be upset by this event.
Why?
If gravity plays by the rules, we're going to have shifts in mass happening. We're going to have moons flying all over the place. We're going to have, it's going to be like the whole solar
Well, it's a good
system
thing
will be
it's an electric universe and the planets are actually trapped between Birkeland current sheets and it has nothing to do with gravity.
Okay.
The
I don't know.
I'm not sure how much additional mass Jupiter would need in order to ignite fusion.
Everyone does that. I hate that, Zebra.
That's a big
Why
one.
not? Because
See that
because-
a lot too.
Okay, first of all, there is not 18 times the resources in physical mass available free in our solar system. In order for Jupiter to gain insane materials, 18 times its present mass. That material isn't available.
Okay. So why does it ignite as a second star?
Not because of mass,
Okay.
because of chemistry.
Mm. Oh, like I've heard people saying, what if the hydrogen in Jupiter ignited? That sort of thing,
Right.
which would be really interesting.
Yeah,
Right.
that's the idea.
So what I see described in the story of David and Goliath as near stellar bodies is impacts between the planet Mercury and the moon Europa, and then that impacts the moon Io, making huge electrical discharges with water and with sulfur, um, which can split the water, electrolyze water, and you get its two components, oxygen and hydrogen. Both things very, very flammable. In fact, without oxygen, you have a hard time getting like flame, you know? So, and then that dispersed around Jupiter, sucked in by Jupiter's sheer gravitational pull. It's gigantic. Igniting the outer atmosphere, causing a shock wave that travels because of hydraulics into the core of the planet, which, if you think of it as if you had enough hands and you had a bubble of water in outer space, which is essentially the planet Jupiter. It's this big bubble of liquid in outer space. And you were able to clap it in all directions at the same time, which that kind of shock wave could be created by the outer atmosphere of Jupiter. You have that amount of pressure on the outside. Let's divide it in our head as, although it's a smear, let's make it into layers so it's easier to understand. So say the first 10,000 miles of thickness of the outer liquid core of Jupiter. And say it had, I don't know, 1 pound of pressure on that 10,000 mile layer. Just 1 pound all the way around, right? Because the next layer is inside that, it's less material. But it would still be the same pressure, because you can't, when you start a hydraulic wave like that, there's no diminishing it.
Right.
So you'd have the same amount of pressure on the next layer down. So say that would be like 3 pounds, because it's 1/3 the size.
Right.
Same amount of pressure, 1/3 the material, and you keep going down like that. Eventually, you get to something with a bazillion pounds of pressure on this many atoms. Well, that's how we set off hydrogen bombs. That's what causes a hydrogen bomb. So then you have that reaction at the core of the planet, and what would that do? It would spread to the rest. Now you have a sun. So it has nothing to do with an increase of mass. It has to do with a little bit of chemistry and physics, from what I can tell from the story. By the way that I read it. All these qualifiers.
It reminds me of the sequel to 2001. I think it was called 2010.
Yeah, I never saw it. Did they do stuff like that?
I read the book and I saw the movie. And basically those monoliths somehow take over Jupiter and create it so it gives light, and it brings forth life on Europa.
Right. So what they essentially use those monoliths to create a Dyson sphere after the ignition, or no?
No, for some reason the monoliths start duplicating, and it appears as if Jupiter is being swallowed by or being stained by black monoliths that are reproducing, so to speak, and they get larger and larger. But instead of becoming a black hole, as you might think, it becomes a sun. And apparently it does so without increasing mass, because the Earth is still fine and safe.
Right. And so is Europa, presumably.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it ends with a message to Earth saying that the solar system is for you, but do not land on Europa or any of its fellow moons.
Oh, come on.
Yes, that's in the sequel. Yeah.
That's interesting. I mean,
Yes.
that's like the forbidden fruit. Then you get the explicit instructions not to go to Europa. That's where I'm going.
Yes. Yeah. Well, one of the monoliths might just zap you.
Oh, sure. That's
Sorry,
worth a
we're
risk.
talking about a science fiction novel and Richard Scott. This is almost as bad as that time we talked about the painting St. Francis in the Wilderness. Sort of,
Krishna in
It's
the
okay.
chat accused us of going down comic book narratives.
oh, okay. Well,
But I think that there could be some juice there. So I'm not opposed to it. I mean, Arthur C. Clarke was a deep thinker. He might have in some way been in contact with God, whether he knew it or not. I definitely think there was something to that director. What's his name?
Stanley Kubrick.
Oh yeah. I mean, there's messages all over his work, and deep
Like what?
themes and like um let's see. What's some of my favorite stuff that he did?
He did that
Well,
story, The 1 Billion Names of God, which was really interesting. Do you remember that one?
Arthur C. Clarke, yeah. Oh, I thought we
Yes.
were talking about Kubrick. Yeah.
We were, but my brain confused the two. Keep going.
That's okay. So Kubrick did well Eyes
The
Wide
Shining.
Shut was the
Yeah.
last one. Yeah, which is
Okay.
a really interesting like tapestry of power structure, realities of our society, and it really like I think like did an interesting comparison between how like individually powerful people interact with powerful organizations, and how how that sort of symbiosis occurs. Um, and it's a very like just like The Shining, it's a very creepy and sinister sort of a vibe the whole time. So, which I think when you're experiencing media like that, you tend to start to look for uh, patterns. You start to look for understanding, because
Sure.
that'll be the route out of the sinister like vibe, this creepy scary vibe, is if you can grasp onto some kind of like truth. And so I think
Right.
Kubrick really expertly directed his viewers to examine all of the details of his films, and that's what he gets. There's Kubrick fanatics who will pick apart every like camera angle and every continuity error and find significance in all of it. I'm just really excited by art that's like that, that's like deliberately engineered to invite reflection and investigation. So
Oh.
yeah.
Sounds like real art. It doesn't sound very Hollywood.
Yeah, no, yeah. I think he was one of those guys that was like, no, I'm not doing the Hollywood thing. So, yeah, for sure.
Mm.
I haven't had time for pop culture in a while, so I'm
Sure.
way behind on all that stuff.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it strikes me that there are aspects of holy literature that have the same sort of thing going on, where like there's just enough that make you want to like keep investigating, that make you want to like tease it apart. And this
Yeah.
leads to problems and leads to confusion, but it also can lead to truth, I think.
I
So
think that we have, and I've said this before, and I know I'm repetitive, but I think that we experience prayer, and we have, and we will,
mhm.
and that reflects in what we are calling creativity. And not all the prayer is to good.
Right. Right.
I think that um, Stephen King, etc.,
Hmm.
et al., have truly written some, I mean, disturbing things,
Yeah.
and yet are not disturbed people. and those two things don't seem to go together.
That's interesting.
Mm.
You know, Stephen King says he doesn't remember writing some of his books.
Well, he was
The-
hit by a minivan,
oh,
so
I thought it was
I'm
because
not
of the
surprised.
coke and stuff,
Oh, maybe.
cocaine abuse. Yeah,
Really?
but that's what he said. Yeah, like he was so strung out on cocaine while he wrote. I think it was Pet Cemetery, that he doesn't even have a memory of writing it. Which is definitely, I think, in the top 3 of his scariest books. It's a messed up book.
Yeah.
About
I
pets
know a
coming back
funny
to life.
story about Stephen King from the world of publishing, if you'd like to hear it.
All right.
Stephen King had struggled in the trenches for a long time, making very little money. But his book Carrie found an audience, and holy crap, was it selling! And then his next book sold, his next book. So he's meeting his editor, and the editor and he go into an elevator, and they're on their way up the New York office tower, and in steps the president of the company.
Mm-hmm.
And the president of the company, the editor makes a point of saying, "Oh, sir, if you've never met, this is Stephen King, blah 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 blah, and he's one of our authors." And he didn't know who Stephen King was, didn't know that he was an author, and didn't know of his books. And the thing is, he was by far their best-selling author.
Oh, wow.
And at that point, Stephen King said, "Yeah, I'm out of here."
Huh? Yeah.
Yes, apparently it's a true story.
Hmm.
And that's what publishing is like, It
Sure.
Why would he expect the president of the company to know him as an author? That seems unreasonable to me.
Well, in publishing, about 80% of your revenue comes from 20% of your books, right? And
Okay.
your best-selling author, holy crap, like he's literally worth his weight in gold. And the company is making way more money off Stephen King's books than Stephen King ever will.
Yeah, but
And
that's
just
not what business is about. The business isn't about where are we mining this gold. The business is about who are we selling the gold to.
Well, yeah, you can say that, but as a result, they lost Stephen King,
Right.
and they were worse off without him, and wish they had kept him, and they couldn't.
I imagine, and they should have kissed his ass a little bit.
They didn't have to. They just had to. He just realized, how can this company help me when they don't even know who I am?
I'd like to say that company made him one of the best-selling. They were obviously doing a great job for him. Obviously.
Well, maybe.
Or else he wouldn't have been so puffed up that he got insulted.
Well, later on, it was years later that his books would have print runs. Like when I was working for the Canadian agent of Simon and Schuster.
Mm-hmm.
One of their imprints that they bought was Scribner, and Scribner was Stephen King's publisher, and he had a 2 million print run, which is it's astonishing to have print runs that high, And I wonder if they would have got the numbers up that high if he had stayed where he was. Certainly not in hardcover. Like a 2 million hardcover.
Hard to know.
Holy shit! Like, of course, in the world of movies, 2 million at $10 a pop is just 20 million. So in terms of money, publishing doesn't really compare to, say, a Spider-Man movie.
Oh, sure.
But,
not even close.
Overall, like, the publishing industry sold X number of billions of dollars worth of books last year. And as a sort of a benchmark, a while ago, 1 million books were published in English every year. which is a lot. Anyway, enough Stephen King chatter. Back to you.
Yeah, just pick it right back up. Okay,
Yeah,
let's see. Where the heck was I?
So
you
we
were
were
talking
talking
about
about
Stephen King, and you wouldn't shut up
prayers.
about him.
Yeah, that's it. I was talking about how I think that we all pray, and that's why we say things like um, um, Kubrick is reminiscent of these human spiritual matters, or makes me think about
Mm,
these human spiritual. I think that Kubrick and others have been in contact with the ancestors or angels and gotten certain ideas from them, and oh, by the way, demons too.
Hmm.
Um, not to internalize too much, but it's been my experience that I don't experience only angels. That would be very convenient, by the way. If all I ever had received were truths, that would be
mm,
great. Not
mm.
the way it worked, however.
Mm.
If
Oh, so satanic verses, you mean? Sort of like getting messages from
bad
left?
ideas.
Yes.
I'll put it this way: in the first 10 days of this walk,
Mm,
um, I was reminded later that I had said, and this isn't a perfect quote, but I had the idea through prayer, and was considering it an epiphany and a profound statement. And if you're a sensitive person who knows someone who is mentally handicapped, you're not going to want to hear what I am about to say, which I believed at the moment was true.
mm.
Okay.
So I'm going to give you a trigger warning,
Thanks.
and I'm going to ask you to mute this stream if you don't absolutely leave it and never come back. I'm going to ask you to mute the stream, and when I'm done talking about this, I'll raise my right hand and you'll know that it's over. Okay?
Mm.
All right. So now's the time to mute if you want to not hear this about mental handicapped persons.
Mm.
I thought it was a truism, and it was received in prayer, but I thought it was true that part of earning heaven was literally taking a sword and decapitating people who are retarded.
Holy crap.
Now, I only believed that for less than 24 hours, but I did believe it for a time.
Weird.
I know.
What?
Well,
I
Martin
know.
Luther thought the same thing.
And now I'd like to retort that. Yeah, I've heard of that, of Martin Luther as well since.
No
But
kidding.
yeah, I really believed that for a little less than 24 hours, right? And then another voice said to me, well, what about perfection in heaven? If all can be perfected in heaven, what would that matter? And why would that be a reason to keep them out of heaven? And I went, oh, crap, it's not true.
Well, then, so we will be perfected in heaven?
Yes, that's the idea.
The idea is that right now you are partially coding, which we can show scientifically you're only partially coding. You have uncoding genetic material. And that the angelic fully code, which means you couldn't have fallen arches. You couldn't have an arm that didn't finish growing during your development, and you have a small arm. It would finish growing.
And my stripes would be more highly defined.
The stripes are already perfect. I can't see them being more perfect. You'll forgive me.
Oh, well, there are little flaws here and there.
Do you have to die?
I didn't go kill anyone, Harple.
Do you have to die to get? Do you have to die to get on board? Do you have to die to get on?
That's a topic change.
I know.
Okay, so
Yes.
no, it's fine. I'm just saying it's a topic change. So
It
I'm letting
is.
everyone who muted know that part's over. Okay, so would you repeat it?
Do you have to die to get into heaven?
No. We ascend to heaven, flesh and all, just like some examples in each of the stories, including other religions, not just Christianity and Judaism. But we tend to make a big deal out of the exception. Of course, if there's a people alive for end times and ascend flesh and all, and drink whatever the waters of life, whatever protein combination that releases the rest of your genetic material, and you start to physically change, and by the time 7 years have passed, you're fully angel, having lost all your scars, fully coding, perfectly healing, a different way of mental activity, more efficient brain, probably is what it looks like. But we tend to find that which is, I could give an example of anything. It's crazy. We tend to concentrate on the abnormality rather than the normality. So just like if you went to college and everyone there is say 19 through 27 years old, but you have one student who's 60,
Right.
and you have one student who's 14. Do you know how much attention they're going to get?
Yeah.
It's going to be freaky.
Sure.
Like your average 20-year-old in college is not going to get near that amount of attention.
Right.
Because we concentrate on the abnormal. Describe a piece of paper. Well, if you describe a piece of paper, what you're going to describe is generally paper, and then you're going to start talking about the lines of blue, then you talk about the line of red down one side, and then you'll talk about the script that's on it, because those are all exceptions. Point at some part of your wall near your face right now. And the first thing you will do is describe the overall wall, and then you'll start nitpicking it apart. This is different, this is different, this is different.
Okay.
Peace and respect, Wildheart.
Hey, Wildheart.
Howdy, Wildheart. I don't see him in chat. There he is.
He didn't enter anything in chat.
Oh.
So then in the script, it's like normal. Here's this weird thing, and we go, oh, look, a weird thing. Let's blow it up way out of proportion. And that's just our nature. We kind of can't help it. So people being restored into heaven, once we're in heaven, will not look weird to us at all and become normal. But the existence of an afterlife to us right now sounds super weird, so we blow it up.
I was just the reason for my question is that I've been thinking a lot about the practicality of the resurrection of the dead, and
Sure.
And if heaven is, I mean, the exception is going to be those who are still alive.
That's what I'm saying.
There's going to be so many. So I think it would be a matter of practical convenience rather than heal the people that are still alive, to just waste them and start over again, like with everybody else, like
I think the difference is the continuous experience in the first person of suffering. So I think it's worth it.
Interesting.
Because if I tell you of a suffering I've had,
Yeah.
that's not the same as you experiencing the same suffering. It's not the same thing. And to those restored in heaven, their memories restored will be kind of third person-ish.
Oh, it won't be a continuous existence.
Well, that's why
for
they
them?
don't cry. Because they didn't have a continuous experience.
I didn't know they don't cry. Where's that? I'm sorry. I don't.
And they will shed no more, and they will have no more tears.
Okay.
When you watch a movie, even if it deeply affects you and you're really touched by it, you might cry in the moment for a character in a movie, but you're not going to keep crying and become depressed and kill yourself over a character in a movie, most likely.
Right.
And you would see your past life as like having watched a movie about you. So it would be like one step detached, I think. And because of that, you wouldn't like you would remember it, but you wouldn't personalize it at that level. So there's no
Okay.
need to cry over it anymore. That
I
wouldn't be
see.
there.
But if
Speaking of movies that are depressing, if you saw the movie Big Night, where hardworking people have their hopes and dreams completely shattered, and I couldn't take it, and I was depressed for like 3 days.
oh my gosh.
Yeah, and I couldn't believe how much it impacted me, and I had to keep my mind off it and do other things.
So
It
it's a
was
movie
called
that really
Big
screwed
Night.
you up permanently. I want to watch that. What was the name of it?
It's called Big Night, and it has
Okay.
Stanley Tucci and what other Tony Shalhoub, who, by the way, he never gets his proper cred as being a brilliant actor.
I think that guy
Holy
is
crap!
brilliant. Yeah.
Minnie Driver is in it. Isabella Rossellini, Liev Schreiber, a whole bunch of folks. But anyway, it is called Big
David
Night.
Grant would. Sorry,
Hmm?
go ahead. Ignite what?
Big Night, and it was made. Why
Big
doesn't it
Night.
say what year it was made? Well, at any rate,
Hmm.
or I'll put a link in
Dave,
chat if someone's interested.
David,
Okay.
I need you to say more words than "so the Bible says something that isn't true." I don't know what that means.
What's it say, Wildheart? Wildheart's headset isn't working. That's why he's a
Oh, okay.
mime. Yeah.
Oh, there is Wild Heart. Okay.
No, don't be a mime. Just let's give him some floor space, and if we don't talk, he'll have no echo. Go ahead.
Yeah, don't be a mime, okay? We've had enough of mime. Oh no, Wild Heart's in a windstorm.
You're just going to keep talking, aren't you, Zebra?
Oh, okay,
Uh,
I'll shut up.
David, unmute and speak, and we won't have echo. Or you're going to type instead. You don't even have a microphone on your computer at all. Okay, fine.
Mm. He's not muted. He's just quiet.
Since we're making this into a party, peace and respect, Thunder Dwarf.
Peace and respect, Richard. I'm gonna go back to work. I can't stay. I was just letting you know. His mic is broken. He's not worried about echo. He's not muted. He literally cannot speak.
Mm.
Oh, roger that. We lost a Mac.
Mm. And he just vanished, and now Pixie's gone too. What the hell, man?
Sorry about that.
I think Pixie was actually Mac is actually Pixie.
We've never
That's
been
why they
seen
couldn't
at
be
the
on
same
screen at the same time.
That's and that's why Mac always wears glasses.
So nobody recognized them, although they both have great hair. And I'm not I'm not ignorant to that fact.
Thank you.
Not
Ox said
fooling
that
you, Clark Kent.
Ox said that the first line of the Bible is a lie, but I want to say that I'm going to speculate because it was on my mind that what David Grant was referring to was you must die and be born again to enter the gates of heaven or something like that.
Yeah.
That was the scripture on my mind, when I asked,
Sure.
do you have to die? So,
Of course, there's a double entendre in that.
Oh,
well, I mean, I
Born
know that
again.
it's understood. Yeah, it's understood to be a spiritual birth, or it can be understood to be a spiritual birth, or like the way you're born again when you get a new job or something like that.
Try to imagine this. Let's say we had this misunderstanding where God is all mysterious and heaven's on a different plane of existence, and you have inviso angels, right?
Okay.
Based on that premise, on that idea set,
Heaven
arrives physical and angels are physical, like they wipe their asses.
Right. Right.
That would be a rebirthing of the idea. You would totally have to throw away the old idea and start again because it's just that damn different.
Right. So,
Okay, so the Bible itself is saying people don't understand what angels are saying about themselves. That's why you have to be born again. Okay, so there's one meaning of born again.
Right.
Then the other one's quite literal.
Come out of a womb.
Yeah, be born again. You were born once, now you're born again. Literal reincarnation.
What if it's virtual reality to limit problems with space? You just have a bunch of computers.
Yeah. Transhumanism.
Okay, so theoretically, the perfectly replicated or accurately aware self wouldn't know the difference nor care. So, but you got the Matrix. And now you have to ask questions of morality.
You
now
care
they
as soon as
claim
you find
perfect
out.
morality.
Right.
So
you care as soon as you wake up and realize you're in the Matrix.
but if you wake up and don't realize you're in the Matrix, you wouldn't care.
Right.
Oh.
That's so.
But for those outside controlling the Matrix, there's a moral issue.
Right.
Now, if they're going to claim perfect morality and run a Matrix, they're liars. And now I want no part of it.
Right.
But if it's a difference that makes no difference, then it shouldn't matter. And you're reborn into the Matrix.
Like I said, the experiencer wouldn't know it. Like, what's the one character that wants to go back into the Matrix in the first movie?
Right.
Oh, yes.
He says, I've come to realize ignorance is bliss.
Yes.
Right. I don't want to remember nothing, he says.
Yeah.
Nothing. Yeah. I want to be somebody moderately famous.
Yeah, somebody important, like an actor.
Yeah. Such a great scene. Eating the steak.
Yeah.
I have to be careful when I'm checking the comments and stuff. I'll go dump out of the screen again.
Ox, that's a bit mean-spirited there. You don't have to go running at someone because they have a flaw. But okay. Please
Hurt
keep
people.
It nice and Canadian in here.
Hey, PJ.
I don't know. I'm not willing to stand alongside of you, Zebra, and say that Ox is being abnormally mean.
Maybe he's being normally mean?
No, that's not what I mean. What I mean is, am I okay? I stand aside a cliff, and I see you running toward it, and there's no time to really talk to you because you're running. And another friend of yours stands on the other side of your path. And he sees you running toward the cliff too. And he goes, excuse me, Zebra, could you slow down just a little bit? While I tackle you and knock you in the head and push you down.
Right.
First of all, you want something that's going to work to stop the person from running off the cliff. You don't want something that won't work. And there have been plenty of people in David's life who went mealy mouth, by the way, and I think, and blah, blah, blah. There's been plenty of that. And I'm not sure Ox is wrong.
Yeah.
I love David. I think I love David more than David loves David. And I want David to survive. So,
Me
there's
too.
that.
Me too. Gentlemen, I need to say my goodbyes.
Thank you for your
Good
time,
talk.
brother.
Just waking up. Thank you so much. Yeah, great talk today, as usual. and I'll see you all around on the streams and such. And if not, I'll catch you on the other side. I'll catch you in near orbit.
Yes. Yes,
All right.
right on.
All right,
Right
brothers.
on.
Thank you so much. Peace.
Bye. And I think I should too, because I feel very much talked out.
Okay. Well,
And
David isn't
thank you
able to
very
talk,
much.
and I don't like monologuing, so I guess that's the end of the show.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I think people would listen to your monologues, but all right. Bye for now.
I just
Good to
can't
see
do
you
it.
back again, Wildheart.
It was good to see Wildheart. Yeah.
All right. And
All right,
I'll
guys.
say goodnight. Bye.
Thank you very much for your time, Zebra. Hope to see you again soon.
Okie dokie.
All right, guys.
Thank
Till
you.
next time. Till next time, I want you all to know that I truly look forward to the day that we're all great friends. Peace.